Unit 9. Tamper with.
をいじる、
Someone seems to have tampered with the door lock. Scrape by.
かろうじて生計を立てる、
I'm out of work and scraping by on compensation. Tap into.
資源・資金などを利用する、
Many companies are looking to tap into the growing Indian market. Level with.
に正直に話す、包み隠さず話す、
I asked the doctor to level with me. Boil down to.
に要約される、結局何々である、
The relationship between businesses and customers boils down to trust. Crop up.
問題などが持ち上がる、生じる、
Whenever I solve one problem, another one crops up. Take over.
を引き継ぐ、
He decided to take over his father's business. Gloss over.
都合の悪いことを取り繕う、
He tried to gloss over his mistake by saying that he did his best. Pan out.
事態などが展開する、進む、
The game panned out the way we expected. Drown out.
音をかき消す、
The train noise drowned out his voice. Fork out.
大金を仕方なく払う、出す、
I wouldn't fork out tens of thousands of yen for a pair of jeans. Act up.
病気・症状などがぶり返す、
My left knee that I had hurt last year acted up again.
Drift off.
ついうとうとする、
I drifted off during the boring lecture. Rub off on.
考え・性質などがに影響を与える、
His fighting spirit rubbed off on the rest of the team. Buckle down.
真剣に取り組む、
I buckled down and started working on my thesis. Bow out.
身を引く・辞任する、
She bowed out of the presidential race. Egg A on.
A をけしかける、
His friends egged him on to drink more. Bear down on.
に迫ってくる、
The enormous storm was bearing down on the city. Blow away.
人に圧勝する、
She blew her opponent away in the final. Harp on.
くどくど言う、
He harped on about his good old days. Hold down.
仕事を続ける、
She has 3 children and holds down a full-time job. Head off.
を阻止する、阻む、
Scientists are seeking ways to head off global warming. Opt for.
を選択する、選ぶ、
The election results show that voters opted for change. Mull over.
についてじっくり考える、
I'm mulling over buying a new mountain bike.
Patch up.
関係などを修復する、不和などを解決する、
They went on a second honeymoon to patch up their marriage. Come down on.
をきつく叱る、非難する、
The teacher came down hard on him for sleeping in class. Fork over.
しぶしぶお金を払う、
He forked over $100 to get the lock fixed. Tack on.
を付け足す、
This CD has a bonus track tacked on at the end. Fall through.
失敗に終わる、
The plan fell through for lack of funds. Pin down.
事実・原因などを突き止める、
The police finally pinned down the cause of the fire. Bear out.
を実証する、裏付ける、
Her theories are borne out by various facts. Lash out.
激しく非難する、
She lashed out at the government for breaking promises. Reel off.
をよどみなく言う、
She reeled off the titles of some novels she likes. Jockey for.
を得ようと競う、画策する、
Those companies are jockeying for smartphone users' growing attention. Bring up.
話題などを持ち出す、
I brought up the topic of marriage with her. Crack down on.
を厳しく取り締まる、
The police are cracking down on computer crimes.
Shake off.
を断ち切る、振り払う、
I haven't been able to shake off a cold for a month. Farm out.
仕事などを委託する、
The automaker farms out some of its business to its subsidiaries. Rope in.
を仲間に引き入れる、
The police roped in experts from various fields for that investigation. Lay out.
を詳しく説明する、
The report lays out the new project. Play up.
を大げさに強調する、
The CEO played up the skyrocketing sales in the interview. Flare up.
炎が燃え上がる、
The fire flared up and enveloped the house in an instant. Fend off.
攻撃・批判などをかわす、受け流す、
He spent the whole interview fending off personal questions. Toy with.
考えを漠然と抱く、
I've been toying with the idea of starting my own company. Throw out.
体の一部を痛める、
I threw out my back trying to move the desk. Stumble upon.
に偶然出会う、
I stumbled upon a very interesting website by accident. Live down.
を年月とともに忘れる、
I will never live down the embarrassing moment. Root out.
を根絶する。
The mayor promised to root out corruption.
Wolf down.
をガツガツ食べる。
The mother told her son not to wolf down his food. Dawn on.
人に分かり始める。
It dawned on me why he said so at that time. Make off with.
を持ち去る。
The thief made off with everything of value. Let on.
を口外する。漏らす。
Please don't let on, you know that. Play havoc with.
を大混乱させる。
The storms played havoc with the transportation. Cop out.
責任、約束などから逃げる。手を引く。
After all, you're just copping out. Pour over.
をじっくり読む。じっくり見る。
I poured over the catalog and placed in order. Run up.
借金を貯める。料金を滞納する。
He has run up a huge cell phone bill. Bog down.
を動けなくする。
We got bogged down with a new project. Pitch in.
協力する。
Many volunteers pitched in to clean the beach. Kick up.
騒ぎなどを起こす。
He kicked up a fuss and left the band. Squeak by.
かろうじて成功する。
The test was very hard, but I squeaked by.
Dole out.
を分け与える。
He doled out chocolate to the children. Barge through.
をかき分けて進む。
She barged through the crowd to the center of the circle. Rifle through.
をくまなく調べる。
The thief rifled through the drawer for valuables. Taper off.
次第に減る。徐々に弱まる。
Home sales began to taper off. Piece together.
をつなぎ合わせる。
They pieced a few clues together and discovered the truth. Rally around.
を支援するために集まる。
People rallied around the new candidate. Tip off.
に内包する。こっそり知らせる。
Somebody must have tipped off the police about his whereabouts. Snap out of it.
気を取り直す。
She helped me snap out of it. Horse around.
バカ騒ぎをする。
They were horsing around while the teacher was away. Pluck up.
勇気などを振り起こす。
I plucked up my courage and told him how I felt about him. Flesh out.
構想などに肉付けする。
We spent a year fleshing out the plan. Wipe out.
を全滅させる。一掃する。
Many villages were wiped out by the tsunami.
In retrospect.
振り返ってみると、
In retrospect, the decision they made was wrong. Bowl over.
人を驚かせる。感動させる。
I was bowled over by their wonderful performance. Stamp out.
を根絶する。撲滅する。
The new mayor promised to stamp out crime. Wriggle out of.
義務、責任などをうまく逃れる。
You cannot wriggle out of your responsibility. Pine for.
を恋しく思う。
These hot days make me pine for autumn. Zero in on.
に注意を集中する。
Researchers are zeroing in on the cause of the disease. Take off.
事業などが軌道に乗る。
His business took off and he was able to pay off his debts. Shell out.
大金をしぶしぶ払う。
I had to shell out $500 to fix my car. Muscle in on.
に強引に割り込む。
The large company muscled in on the market. Rip through.
場所などを荒々しく通過する。
A giant hurricane ripped through my town. Fritter away.
を浪費する。
He frittered away his savings on gambling. Rail against.
を罵る。激しく非難する。
The employees railed against the decision to cut their salary.
Write off.
借金などを帳消しにする。
The government decided to write off the debts of developing countries. Rip off.
を騙して金を取る。
Shops in that area are infamous for ripping off tourists. Mill about.
辺りをうろうろする。
Some students are milling about in the corridor. Iron out.
問題などを決着させる。
We met to iron out some details. Rustle up.
食事などを手早く用意する。
The mother rustled up an omelet for her child. Sort out.
問題などを解決する。
We managed to sort out all our problems. Hunker down.
困難な状況が終わるのを待つ。
The residents hunkered down for the storm in the shelter. Haul off.
を連行する。逮捕する。
He was hauled off to the police station for questioning. Lean on.
に圧力をかける。
The politician leaned on the author not to publish the book. Blot out.
を完全に覆い隠す。
The thick fog blotted out the beautiful landscape. Factor in.
を計算に入れる。
Buying online can be expensive when you factor in shipping costs. Breeze in.
人が不意に入ってくる。
She breezed in and took a seat in the front row.
Bank on.
を当てにする
He is banking on his parents to pay off his debts. Bawl out.
を怒鳴りつける、叱りつける
The coach bawled me out for being late for training. Fall in with.
と付き合う、仲良くなる
She fell in with a bad crowd in her teens. Crank out.
を次々に生み出す
The rock singer is cranking out hit after hit. Beef up.
を強化する、増強する
The police beefed up security around the station. Bear the brunt of.
の矢面に立つから最も被害を受ける
Young people are bearing the brunt of recession. Come around.
意見を変える
After the discussion, she came around and agreed with us. Clam up.
口をつぐむ
The suspect clammed up about the incident. Rack up.
利益などを得る重ねる
He racked up debts and went into bankruptcy. Pass A off as B.
A を B と偽る
The merchant passed the item off as a new one. Lap up.
を真に受ける享受する
The media lapped up her story about the discovery. Shrug off.
を無視する受け流す
He shrugged off his doctor's advice and continued smoking.
Trump up.
人を陥れるためにをでっち上げる
They trumped up an excuse to charge me with the accident. Pay off.
借金を完済する
We plan to pay off our mortgage in 5 years. Knuckle down.
本気で取り組む
It's time for us to knuckle down to solving the problem. Clear up.
病気が治る
I had a cold that wouldn't clear up. Pass on.
を伝える
This story has been passed on from one generation to another. Smooth over.
問題などを和らげる
I tried to smooth over their relationship. Rattle off.
をスラスラと言う
The girl can rattle off pie to 100 places. Fizzle out.
途中で頓挫する
The project fizzled out when the company went out of business. Wrap up.
を終わらせる
He started working on a new album after wrapping up a long tour. Hem in.
を取り囲む
His car was hemmed in by several police cars. Weed out.
を一掃する
This law is aimed at weeding out illegal immigrants. Fend for oneself.
自活する自力で生きていく
The flood victims had to fend for themselves.
Weigh in.
計量を受ける
Both fighters weighed in at 130 pounds. Bail out.
を経済的苦境から救う
The role of the IMF is to bail out countries in need. Crack up.
大笑いする
Everybody cracked up when she told the joke. Back out.
手を引く
A big sponsor backed out, causing the event to be canceled. Own up.
認める白状する
He owned up to having broken the glass. Take on.
を雇う採用する
We can't afford to take on more staff. Shy away from.
を嫌がる避ける
Most writers shy away from criticizing other writers. Play down.
を実際より軽く扱う
Some countries try to play down the impact of global warming. Drag on.
長引く
As the war dragged on, more soldiers became homesick. Pull off.
困難なことに成功するをやってのける
They were missing a player but still pulled off a win. Wear off.
痛み感情などが薄れる次第に消える
My initial enthusiasm wore off and I lost interest in soccer. Strike up.
会話進行などを始める
He struck up a conversation with a man while waiting for a bus.
Sleight of hand.
巧妙な早業ごまかし
She used a common sleight of hand to fool the public. Shoot for.
を目指す狙う
You should shoot for 30 minutes of walking a day. Throw in.
をおまけにつける
I bought a TV and they threw in a pair of speakers. Break down.
説得圧力などに屈する
She finally broke down and told the truth. Hole up.
をかくまう隠す
The robbers were reported to be holed up in the mountains. Squeeze in.
を押し込む割り込ませる
The doctor squeezed me in during his lunch hour. Fire away.
話質問をする
I'd like to ask you some questions. Fire away. Stem from.
に由来する
Misunderstandings often stem from a lack of information. Boot up.
コンピューターなどを起動する
Nothing appears on the screen when I boot up my computer. Take up.
趣味としてを始める
The doctor advised him to take up some sports. In response to.
に応じて答えて
In response to criticism, he issued a statement to the media. Thin out.
を間引くまばらにする
You need to thin out some old branches.
Level off.
水平飛行に移る。
The helicopter leveled off 50 meters above the ground. Snap off.
枝などがポキッと折れる。ロープなどがプツンと切れる。
The rope snapped off and he fell on his back. Scrape together.
をかき集める。
I scraped together the money for the trip. Hold out.
かろうじて持続する。持つ。
I hope my luck holds out. Peter out.
次第に消滅する。
Public attention to the issue petered out. Sponge off.
人にたかる。希食する。
She got a job and stopped sponging off us. Ease off.
和らぐ。緩む。
After a night's sleep, the pain eased off a lot. Wash out.
汚れなどが洗って落ちる。
The stains on my shirt won't wash out. Glance off.
をかすめる。
The ball glanced off my glove and rolled to center field. Hinge on.
何々次第である。
Everything hinges on the results of the negotiations. Set up.
お罠にはめる。陥れる。
I was set up and arrested for murder. Slip by.
時間などがいつの間にか過ぎる。
The deadline for the paper slipped by.
Soak up.
液体、知識などを吸収する。
This towel soaks up oil as well as water easily. Rake off.
リベートなどを受け取る。
He was raking off profits from suppliers. Square up.
生産する。感情を払う。
I'll square up with you later. Pep up.
を元気づける。活気づける。
Her songs always pep me up. Down the road.
いつか、将来。
You never know what will happen 5 years down the road. Talk down.
をけなす。
I've never heard him talk anyone down. Dote on.
を溺愛する。
My mother dotes on her cats. Blare out.
大きな音が鳴り響く。
Music blared out in the CD store. Bundle up.
暖かく着込む。
Bundle up or you'll catch a cold. Show out.
人を外まで案内する。
She kindly showed me out. Pack off.
人を追い出す。追い払う。
She packed her daughter off to school and went to work. Drone on.
だらだら続く。だらだらしゃべる。
The lecturer droned on for hours.
Data file. Redefine.
を再定義する。
Re-engineer.
を設計し直す。
Re-evaluate.
を再評価する。
Refill.
を補充する。
Reintegration.
再統合。復帰。
Reissue.
を再発行する。
Remap.
を再配置する。
Remodel.
を改装する。リフォームする。
Rerun.
再放送。再上映。
Reshape.
を再形成する。
Resurface.
再浮上する。
Reunification.
再統一。
Unaffected.
影響されない。
Unavoidable.
避けられない。不可避の。
Unaware.
気づかない。知らない。
Uncover.
を発見する。明らかにする。
Uncomfortable.
心地の悪い。
Unconsciously.
無意識に。知らず知らずに。
Unemployed.
失業した。
Unfamiliar.
人に知られていない。馴染みがない。
Unfit.
適さない。不向きな。
Unimmunized.
予防接種を受けていない。
Uninstitutional.
違憲の。
Unintended.
意図したものではない。故意ではない。
Unintentionally.
故意ではなく。
Unnoticed.
気づかれない。人目につかない。
Unrealistic.
現実味がない。現実的でない。
Unrelated.
無関係の。
Unreliable.
頼りにならない。当てにならない。
Unsold.
売れない。売れ残りの。
Unsuitable.
適さない。向かない。
Subconscious.
潜在意識の。意識下の。
Subcontinent.
亜大陸。
Submarine.
潜水艦。
Subordinate.
部下。
Subservient.
従属する。補助的な。
Underestimate.
を過小評価する。
Undergraduate.
大学生。学部学生。
Underground.
地下の。地下にある。
Underlie.
の根底にある。
Underline.
に下線を引く。を強調する。
Understaffed.
人員不足の。
Undertone.
小声。
Undervalue.
を過小評価する。
Underweight.
重量不足の。
Accessible.
場所が行きやすい。
Ascertainable.
確かめられる。
Affordable.
入手可能な。値段が手頃な。
Audible.
聞こえる。